Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Good morning, Glenn.
Hey, what's up, Mikey?
Dude, I'm living life large right now.
You know what? I wish I was. I have a small coffee, and I'm about at the bottom, and I got to tee up with the big one.
Uh-oh. You're going with the big boy, huh?
I'm going with the big boy. I love having coffee with you.
Sounds good. Hey, so I got a guest with us again today.
Table for three,
but it's a rerun.
We've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, you know, we got a lot of feedback from our community of coffee drinkers with us, and they said, yeah, we're kind of done with we're kind of done with Glenn and Mike. Hey, bring some people on.
That's not what I hear.
No, I'm kidding. My mom loves hearing my voice.
I know, absolutely. Somebody keeps saying that we're funny. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. But we love hearing from our listeners. Podcast at Sober.Coffee is our email. Podcast at Sober.Coffee. We keep it all anonymous. We don't share any names. We're out there on Twitter. We're out there on Instagram, Sober.Coffee Pod, at Sober.Coffee Pod. And we love engaging with everybody, so feel free to connect and reach out.
Yeah, so you could just instant message on. I'm not an Instagrammer. I got kicked off of social media.
Oh no, you're not one of those, are you?
Well, no, somebody hacked my account, and
well, that's not as bad as getting in jail and getting kicked off. That's not a good thing.
I know. So, but I didn't get kicked off of Sober.Coffee yet.
Yeah, it's Sober.Coffee Podcast is our Instagram. But if you go out there in our website, Sober.Coffee, if you just go out and Google Sober.Coffee, you'll find us.
Okay.
We're all over out there.
All right, cool.
So we got a table for three.
Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
Tommy, welcome back.
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Welcome
it's
back.
good to be here.
So we had you on a bit ago, and we talked about self-control, and I thought, oh, that's a really touchy subject, but right, because my willpower failed me.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it was a blast because we found out that it really has nothing to do with willpower. It has everything to do with filling the tank, if you will, with good things, healthy things,
joy and attachment.
Yeah. So go back and listen to that episode if you want.
The big tickets.
Yeah, the big tickets.
I think Mikey wanted you to come on because he knows I need help with self-control. So
Yeah.
I think that's his way of helping me.
Well, how do you
This
like
is an intervention.
How do you like
Glenn.
today? Yeah,
This is an intervention in real time.
How do you like today's topic? I thought we'd talk about anxiety. Does that make you anxious?
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah,
All right.
something
No, it really doesn't.
nobody has.
But it'll help me help others.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of anxiety today, thank God. But
That is good.
I am going to learn so I can help pass it on.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I've noticed is that, and we've talked about this before, and the diagnosis that they gave on me as I was struggling through my addiction was all kinds of things, but none of it was alcoholism. You know, oh, you got bipolar, oh, you got anxiety, you got this, you got that, right? And
Dude, somebody used the S word with me.
Really?
They really did. They said I was like mild schizophrenic. I'm like, no, dude, I'm really just an alcoholic.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it was crazy. And you know, now I don't have a lot of anxiety today. I did.
I know a lot of people.
But a lot of it was chemically, you know, and what they do out there. And you know, as soon as you use the word sobriety, it reminds me of my daughter. She's 25. She lives out in L.A. And she's like, Dad, I got a lot of anxiety. You know, and I can look at anxiety. Sometimes it's a buzzword, right? I'm looking forward to hearing what Tommy says about it. But sometimes it's a buzzword, right? Oh, I got a lot of anxiety. When I think of anxiety, I think of people that I knew in rehab and treatments and detoxes. And I mean, they were crippled because of their anxiety.
Sure.
You know, it's not just having a mild stressful moment.
No.
You know, I got so I
It's the
define
real
it differently.
deal,
Yeah.
right?
You know. But there's a lot of pill throwers out there that throw pills for anxiety. And hey, listen to our disclaimers.
Yeah,
we're not medical people.
right.
But what I found is when I found a different way to live And when I found a higher power that I surrendered to and surrendered to a program, all those diagnoses, and when I got sober, all those diagnoses went away.
Sure, right. But that being said, it's also important to know, again, that we're not doctors, but go to a trusted doctor. And here's the linchpin. You want to know it? This is the secret to success. Write this down if you got a pen, okay? Honesty.
I was just going to say, you better say, be honest.
Yeah, be honest. I mean, go to your doctor. I mean, Mike, do you drink? Sure, socially. What social person drinks at 4:30 in the morning when they wake up? I guess that's social in my book, right? So anyway, let's bring Tommy in and let's talk a little bit about anxiety.
Tommy.
Yeah, I'll give a little background. Tommy's got a site. It's a solution, digital solution for you. But it's really nice. It's very interactive. A lot of video, a lot of audio, a lot of worksheets. Little community, and it's called donewithstuck.com. And
love that name.
Yeah, donewithstuck.com. And I participated in the classes, and it's been very helpful. And so, as we were talking, we thought we'd love to get him on and just take some topics. And today we're going to talk about anxiety, Tommy.
Yeah, you are so right about it being a buzzword, right? I mean, it just seems like it's everywhere. And especially in younger generation, you mentioned 25-year-old, but now you got also 12-year-olds who are apparently suffering from clinical anxiety. And you got to realize that something's massively wrong with something when that's the case, right? Something is really wrong, and possibly some part of the wrongness is maybe how we look at anxiety. And therefore, if we look at it wrong, that means we're doing something wrong about it too. Our solution can't be right if we don't know the actual problem. And that's the biggest thing with anxiety. And just to come right out of the gate with it, the biggest learning that I've had and that we've had, my wife and I, in all of our research and all of our personal journey, is that anxiety is a symptom, not a cause. And that's a massive difference when it comes to the solution for it, right? Because when we realize that anxiety is not the thing at the bottom of the pathway, right? Like if we're really trying to get to the bottom of things, because that's where the problems get solved, anxiety is never there. Anxiety is always layered on top because it's just a biological phenomenon. It's just a series of emotional hormones and chemicals in our bodies. And it's not a disease, it's a feeling. And it gets really out of control, but that's when the problem at the bottom doesn't go away, right? It's like a smoke alarm. If I hear a smoke alarm and go, oh, I hate those, and I take out the batteries, I can go back to sleep. Congratulations.
Yeah, right.
The alarm is off.
Forever.
I can sleep well.
So I think that's what the pill. I think that's what the pill
because
does,
my house
right?
is burning down.
I think the pill is like taking out the battery.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, I don't have the anxiety because I'm drugged up, but the problem is still there. The underlying issue is still there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, and it's the same with, any other way that we can kill negative emotions, right? Because anxiety is one of them. But depression, all of these are bigger topics, right? And that's why you do need a doctor to figure out how far a problem has progressed, right? Because sometimes you need a pill to get functional again, and then you need a plan to be off of it, right? And there's my go-to on most of these things is a guy named Dr. John Deloney. He's got a great podcast, and he is a double PhD, and he's fantastic. He wrote a great book on it, all of that stuff. But, sometimes there is something you need to do to get back to functional again.
Amen.
Because your body's crippled. But at the same time, it's always, always, always a symptom of another problem. And so feelings of intense sadness, loneliness, anger, anxiety, all of these things are symptoms of a problem. And the problem needs to be solved. And the house needs to not be on fire anymore. Right. And so we don't want to stuff the pillow over the alarm anymore. We actually have to open our eyes, be honest, listen to the alarm, follow where it leads us, and put out the frickin' fire before anything happens, right? Or else the anxiety is going to get worse because the alarm system is a progressive alarm, right? The problem stays or gets worse, and the alarm says, no, really, I'm going to wake you up at night. I'm not going to let you focus on your work. I'm not going to let you have fun anymore. I'm not going to let you do anything until you solve this problem. But it's a low resolution alarm. It just blares. It doesn't point you to it unless you can learn how to actually listen to it.
Right. You know, the other problem I think that I had is that most of the time my anxiety is rooted in something that's not even real. Right. So I think there's a fire downstairs. There's no fire downstairs.
There's head trash.
Right. It's just head trash. But I'll get all worked up. And again, I don't, you know, I now know that there's a deeper rooted problem, but I have to root that in reality.
Right. Well, and the big question too there is not just what is reality, but why am I so convinced that there's something else that's true other than reality? Because there's another reason for that too. All of these intrusive thoughts, all of these possible scenarios that we run through in our heads, all of this, daydreaming about catastrophes and all the problems in the world, all of that is because of something. And we always need to find, like, all of that is evidence for the real problem. And usually the problem is rooted in the past. And so it's really dealing with the past and what the past has taught me to believe about life, about people, about myself, about God, about the world and reality. What my past has taught me to believe is what my present mind is going to assume is true. And what my mind will then assume will be true in the future and will happen. And so it's figuring out what those original beliefs are. Why do I think that way? And there's always a reason, because there's always a moment or a pattern or a relationship that has taught me to see the world in such a way. And then that is the key to unlocking my current anxiety problem or my current depressive episode or my current, anger and resentment. Whatever it is usually rooted in something, not only triggering it in the past or triggering it in the present, but something created it in the past. And that's where I have to get to actually get free from it.
Yeah, I love it. I just Googled what are some symptoms of anxiety. And it says here are the 5 symptoms, and then they list 12.
That makes me anxious.
Yeah, no, it does. But it's about an event that either will or will not arise, and it's the will not is what you were talking about. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's park here for a second, because you said something really profound, and that is, and again, you used a lot more words, but what I heard you say was, just get to the root of the problem. Peel the onion back until you figure out where the smell's coming from. That's really going to be your first step to recovery. Because what I really hoped for in this session was that, at the end of 30 minutes, people are going to know how to deal with their anxiety. And I think if I paid attention to what you said, part of the healing of anxiety, healing that symptom, if you will, and getting down to the root cause, that's the thing, really trying to uncover it. But how does one go about that? I mean, is there a worksheet or a pill or,
Yeah, there's a course. We figured out something that the beautiful thing was what we wanted to do was create something that didn't just work for one symptom, because we knew, I got 7 symptoms myself, right? And they're all connected to the same junk.
By the way,
if I treated every symptom, then
I want to interrupt, Tommy. I wasn't setting you up for a commercial there. That was really my question. I'm like, I really want to hear what the answer is, right?
Awesome.
So, I wasn't setting you up for a commercial.
You're not the only one with that question, Mike.
Well, no, it's okay, because that is the only thing that we could figure out was we needed a reliable roadmap to take us back to the issue. And so, we'll save the commercial for later, but that roadmap is all about trying to treat everything as evidence. And I think that's the key, is treating my behaviors and my emotions as evidence of the real problem and evidence of what I believe is true about the world. Because if I can change my beliefs, and that's not change my thoughts, right? It's not, I think that this is true. That's fine. but that's your grown-up brain. I'm talking about your lizard brain. What is the thing that is protecting you? Your lizard brain is protecting you from all the stuff that might try and kill you. And the thing is, the reality behind it is that our lizard brain, that limbic system, it's the survival system in the brain. It's not just protecting us from lions and tigers and bears. It's protecting us from emotional, relational pain. Yes. And it's those things, like, we live in a very safe world compared to everything that human beings have lived in for all of history, right? And so instead of fearing the natural world in a lot of ways, and sometimes we do, obviously, but we've learned that these things, I mean, we talked about this last week, joy and attachment are relational things, and they're the most important things we could ever have, and they make us whole. But when we don't have them, obviously that's going to hurt more than anything else, right? Like, I can survive a broken leg, but I can't survive being lonely my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just okay. That's not a bad thing. That's
reality.
Actually a good thing to recognize that. It's being honest.
Right.
It's reality. It's how you were built, and it's how you are, and there's no changing it. You can't just get over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these things, all my behaviors, even like when I start to see drinking, for example, or pills or Netflix or sugar or food and carbs or anything, when I start to see my behaviors as evidence, it's pointing me to what I'm avoiding. And then what am I avoiding? It's probably these desperately painful negative emotions that I've learned are dangerous to my well-being. And then if I can figure out what those are and actually feel them, realize when they became so dangerous, what made me believe that feeling sad was worth numbing over, or feeling afraid was worth getting high so I didn't have to feel it anymore. If I can figure out when that happened, then I can figure out what I've learned to believe about the world. People aren't trustworthy. I'm only worth it if I look good. I am only valuable when I'm doing something really well, when I'm the best at something. It's these beliefs about myself and about other people. If they get to know the real me, they'll leave me, right? All of these corrupted beliefs, we call them, that aren't true, but we've learned to be true through painful experience. If I can find those things and I can understand them about myself, then I can finally decide to challenge them. Because otherwise I'm just like spitting into the wind. And it's not going to work. I can't overcome these deeply rooted beliefs unless I know exactly what they are, name them for what they are, and then start to dismantle them little by little. And ask people in my life to help me do that. Hey, I think this is true about the world. Will you help me prove that wrong?
It goes back to
I think
community,
that I'm only
right?
valuable when I'm doing something well. So I'm going to give you the worst of me, and I'm going to say, hey, what do you think of me when I tell you that I struggled with this? And they say, I think that you struggled with that, and it's not a big deal, and I love you anyway. And that's evidence in the opposite direction then, and I'm starting to go somewhere. And so healing those things at the bottom, the situation at the bottom, the beliefs at the bottom, is the only way to deal with the symptoms. And it's a longer game, it's a longer play, but it's the only one that's actually going to work long term. Because if I also replace one coping mechanism, like if I deal with that, it's just going to sprout up another one because the problem is still there.
The hole is still there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got to get filled with something. And it's either going to be something that's destructive and unhelpful or long-lasting and effective.
Right. So, Tommy, how do folks get in contact with you? What does engaging with you look like? What are some details on that?
Yeah. So what we wanted to do was like I said, create this roadmap, and we actually call it the Done with Stuck roadmap. And it's our course, and what it is, we didn't.
So it's a virtual course,
again,
or is it in
there's
person?
Plenty of information out there, and really. Yeah, it's a virtual course. It's actually an app that you can download. And
it's an app. All right, cool.
Send you guys, or you'll have a link that you can get to it. So it's available in an app or it's available on the web, either way. But the idea was that we wanted to create this roadmap so that instead of teaching everybody about all the symptoms, it could be anxiety, could be depression, could be addiction, could be this, could be that, could be the other thing. Instead of naming all the symptoms, we just wanted to say, hey, no matter what shows up, no matter what problem presents itself, this is a way to think so that you can always find the bottom. Because if you can always get down to the bottom of things, we call it the yellow brick road, right? If you can follow the yellow brick road, shoot down the creepy flying monkeys along the way, overcome all the roadblocks that show up and get down to the Wizard of Oz who's running your life, but turns out he's a total hack and he's a liar. If you can get down to those things, it doesn't matter what the symptom was. You know how to think and how to dismantle the problem to get down to the real issue at the bottom. And then you know how to get back to Kansas, right? You know how to get somewhere helpful. And so that's the roadmap. It's 6 steps, and it's so it's not 12. It's half. See, it's twice as effective.
Mike, it's easier.
I know, it's half the effort. Half the effort. I love it.
It's really just starting to click
true.
with me that instead of focusing on the alcoholism or the addictions or the shoppingholics or the foodaholics, or instead of focusing on that, let's focus at the solution, right? Let's focus on, and then you kind of bypass or.
Right.
I think I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm. And
that's the beauty, though. I will say, of the 12 steps, I will say you plug anything in, and it works.
No,
that's the beauty of it. It's not how to get free. Exactly. Yeah, it's not how to get free from alcohol. It's how to get free.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And so that was sort of what we wanted to do.
So it's how to find joy and attachment.
It's through Yeah, and it's to rebuild those and challenge all these corrupted beliefs that I've learned over the course of my life, and it's a formula for that instead of a symptom management plan.
Okay, so how do folks find you?
That's the idea.
We have donewithstuck.com.
Yeah, and that'll be in our resource room.
Yep, that'll be in our resource room.
And in the app, we got a little section in the back, and on the you'll see under apps, you'll see the Done With Stuck app.
Okay, and then Instagram.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So the whole idea, you can find me on Instagram at Done With Stuck. And again, I mentioned this last week, but I'm a pastor. I was a pastor. Now I'm doing this more. But I moved from a place I was a pastor. But and so really, what I'm trying to do, one of my big missions, is to bridge the gap between church world and recovery world, because I don't know why they feel so separate. And I don't know why every church isn't clamoring over themselves and falling over themselves to find more people in recovery and say, hey, get in here, we need your help. Because people working programs are the best people that I've met. And so, and they're the most honest people I've met, and they're the most radically growth-oriented people I've met, and I love it. And I've learned so much from the recovery world, because I was supposed to be in the recovery world. I didn't know it because I wasn't struggling with alcohol. And so I was like, well, I didn't know. And that's not right to me. And so all of our stuff is combining, a faith journey also with this, but it's also an all-purpose tool. And anybody working with, a higher power of their own understanding, it's going to take you far still, because we intentionally added zero dogma, zero, hard and fast doctrinal lines. It's not about that at all. It's about connecting with a God that provides us that first instance of care and that basis and foundation of love, exactly like you would find in a 12-step program, for example.
Yeah, so you just hit on a point that is key to where I'm at today. So the church, and I've shared this many times throughout our episodes, but I had to unlearn what I grew up with, and I had to learn a new way. And one of the things, I walked into my church, their motto is "Come as you are," and I really thought that was come in flip-flops, and it certainly is, but it's come as you are spiritually, right? And one of the first things, I was listening to a sermon, and the pastor talks about, AA, the 12 steps, and how cool it is and how supportive. I'm like, I just felt like I was home. You know, I really felt like I was home. 12 steps is mentioned quite often. But one of the coolest things is I put the thing to test. You know, I'm like, words are easy. So I had coffee with my pastor, and I told him my story, and I was waiting for the stiff arm. I was waiting for him to say, hey, Glenn, I was just starting to get involved, starting to serve with stuff, and I was helping with the high school guys, and I was going to wait for the, hey, man, Glenn, really appreciate you, go find another church, because that stuff happens. But instead, the pastor leaned in, and he was like, hey, man, you know, I know you got a lot of phone numbers in your phone. I want you to put my number in there. And I'm telling you, and the more I learned about, you know, God and kind of the spiritual path, and there's this series that we watch. I mean, that's what my hire is all about, is leaning in on the person, on the people, the person, me, that needed help, you know, and that was so cool. But so many times in that spiritual, quote unquote, religious world, you get the stiff arm. Like, oh, we don't want to deal with you. You're one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so find a place, you know.
Right. Well, that's a corrupted belief, right?
Right. Yeah, find a place that's welcome and embracing, because they're out there. Places are out there. Hey, there's people clamoring for our table. This has been fun.
Tommy, thanks, man.
Yeah, Tommy, thanks so much. Donewithstuck.com.
Yeah, this is great, you guys.
I'm less
Thank you so
anxious
much
today, Mikey.
Yeah, thanks much, guys. Hey, we'll see you again, Tommy.
Glad to hear it.
All right, sounds good, man.
Yeah, I
Thanks a
love
lot,
it.
Tommy. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it, man.
Excellent.
All right, brother.
Love it. Thank you, Glenn. See ya.
Love you, Mikey.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.